Awesome. What's up, everybody? It's BallietBran here. Today we've got another live stream. We've actually got a live stream tomorrow too at 10 o'clock with Gold Key from Maximus DAO. But today it's going to be myself and Hex Luthor. We'll bring him on in just a second after we do the intro. Let me just say what's up to the chat real quick, and then we'll get things rolling and we'll get things started. So let's just say what's up to Crypto Compassion. Once again, this is Hex Luthor. He's the gentleman that's going to be on the stream itself. We've got HexDeck16, Polsterbaiter, BallietBran, the greatest Pulse Hex YouTuber in the entire cosmos, but why so few subscribers? Are you guys simpletons? Please subscribe to Bran. I love Polsterbaiter. Gotta love it. Nazir Khan says, let's go. We got Tony Bonboni. What's up, Bran? How are you? I'm doing great. Beautiful day. And yeah, exactly. Let's do the intro, and then we'll say what's up to the chat a little bit later. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. It's going to be a great stream. So let's do the intro, and without further ado.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, be sure to share, be sure to comment. Say hey. Say hey. Motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch!
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams, Mr. BallietBran. It's fabulous.
Okay, cool. So yeah, once again, we got Hex Luthor. Give me a thumbs up if you are ready to go. All right, cool. So yeah, without further ado, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Hex Luthor.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing, man? It's good to see you.
Doing great. It was cool to chat the last time. I had you on the stream and vice versa, and then also in Vegas too, man. I know we haven't really chit-chatted much since then, but had a really good time, and I know you had your wife there, and anyways, it's just kind of fun walking around and hanging out with some of the Hexicans.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it took me about a week to recover from that trip.
Dude, it's so true. No, dude. Yeah, it's hard to get, like, I was telling someone else this, but for like PulseCon when we go, but it's hard to get like good water, man. Like everything is just bottled water, and I'm a firm avid drinker of distilled or reverse osmosis water. So anyways, yeah, it took me a little while to recover too, and probably the same thing with PulseCon since it's going to be hotter weather.
Yep, that's true. And that water tip is actually good. I mean, we knew that from the last year that we went. We went down to Vegas the year prior, and we decided this time, since we were driving anyway, because we live, close enough, it was worth the drive.
Sure.
That we just packed the trunk full of water.
Nice.
And then we carried it up to our hotel room. So we had plenty of water up until like the last day. And I was like, $9 for a water bottle? No thanks.
Dude, it's so crazy, man. I've literally never spent so much money on water probably in my life, dude. But obviously it's a key component to hydration. But yeah, speaking of that, man, I got signed up for the PulseCon tickets last night, like an hour before the rate was going to go up and things like that. But super excited for that, dude. I'll be taking 2 of my older brothers and then one of our friends, Blake. So hoping they have a good time meeting everyone too.
Good. That'll be awesome. Super fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this event is it's gonna be insane. Just as we keep rolling out new updates with who's actually coming to speak, there's gonna be some big names on that panel.
Mm. Well, dude, I love it because, people have said this about the Hex community, right? That it's almost like, I think, Crypto Coffee's mentioned this before, and other people have mentioned this before, that we're almost like, maybe not on purpose, but almost like speaking to our own echo chamber type of deal, right? Where, sure, like we're getting some new people here and there, but most of the people, they're already in and things like that. So I really like the idea of PulseCon and of the Pulse chain itself, right? Just because something is developed on Pulse chain doesn't mean that, like, people need to support it and etc. But it doesn't make sense to also alienate people that are on the new chain as well, right? And that have bags as well. So I think it's really cool to kind of have that community event. I mean, 3,000 people, dude. That's a whole ton of people, man. So that's going to be really cool. It's going to be the biggest one we've had this whole time.
Yep. And then, I mean, get your tickets. If you haven't got them, get them as fast as you can. Because as soon as you start releasing and T-Money starts sharing who's showing up, those tickets are going to fly. And then you already got, what is his name? John Cheng from Shiba. He's got 3 million followers. If 1%,
Holy shit.
If 1% of his followers buy a ticket, it's sold out. Do we want this to be a SHIB convention or or have the Hexicans represent, right?
Dude, that's crazy. I had seen I'd seen him and T Money do an interview, and one of the guys that's working with T Money had sent that to me. And anyways, I didn't do enough research to realize he had 3 million followers, dude. That's awesome. And I love to see kind of Richard also climbing the ranks and kind of catching up too, right? I mean, now he's got, over 200,000 followers on Twitter, and, kind of slowly with like an osmosis, like catching up to where, he kind of deserves to be and kind of should be, but through a meritocracy and through the spreading of good ideas. So it's just a matter of time.
Yep. And it'll only go faster the more he climbs. Like, it's exponential growth at that point, right?
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's, and Richard talks about, because usually vertical integration in businesses and stuff is like, pretty centralized and things like this. But when Richard talks about like the, decentralized, vertical integration with, say, like PulseChain and PulseX and some of these things, how they all kind of complement each other, but it's also kind of immutable too, and decentralized in a fashion that's not just one person running the whole show.
Yep. I like how he's doing it the grassroots way as well. He's not forcing the growth to happen. It's just happening, and it's up to us as investors and believers in the Hex ecosystem and ethos that we do the work too.
Well, dude, it's so true, man. Because like, I've known people in my life that they know about Hex and they know about Richard, and they're like, oh, well, if Richard's so effing rich, then why doesn't he just pay for a whole bunch of advertisements, and why doesn't he just do all this stuff? And it's like, kind of the main word that you had said of the grassroots. Like, you want to attract the certain people that kind of understand everything. They're not just doing it for hype. So yeah, it's really cool to see the organic adoption. And if you look at too, I mean, Bitcoin, I don't even know how old it is now. It's probably like 13 or 14 years old almost. But you look at it when it was 2.5 years old, things like that. And if you kind of just compare where we're at to where it was, we're miles and leaps ahead. And so it's pretty exciting because obviously they did a 6.9 million X from a penny to 69,000. And if we want to do anything close to that, then we got to, outperform in certain metrics that maybe they didn't.
Agreed. I think we have it easier though, because Bitcoin kind of paved the way for us. It really paved the way for all of crypto. A lot more people are getting in every day. Maybe not, our coins, but they're getting in, and that's funneling them back down to us at some point if we can just only do that outreach, right? And then keep reaching out to the no coiners.
Yeah. Well, it's so true, man. Like I've heard people say like, oh, central bank digital currencies, and like, oh, what if this happens and that happens, and everyone kind of gets forced on to CBDCs or kind of that narrative. And Richard's always taken the same frame that you just mentioned as well, which is like, that's good. That's kind of like the way that we're going. And it just makes it that much easier for them to get into the cryptographic, digital asset version, which is more secure, doesn't have counterparty, is trustless, and is actually, sovereign. So you kind of have two different opposites of the spectrum.
Yep. You want to get to the topic of PulseX, or do you want to go through the chat and say what's up first?
Yeah, let's recognize the chat real quick, and then let's definitely get into it with PulseX. Let's just scroll up a smidge here. 1 minute here. Loyal says, like and subscribe before you settle in for this awesome content. Godfather J6, what's up, everyone? DJ Cryptomatic. Once again, dude, we got so many musicians in this community and so many talented freaking people, and he's just one of the many musicians and DJs. So shout out to him. Graph Rider. We've got Crypto Pez, Lies Beneath the Truth. What else we got? Mango Junkie, and then Chaotic Creations, Johnny Chaos, J-Man. PulseChain is going to shock all of crypto. Couldn't agree more. Hex Hodl, MJ Money, Blue, and Jerry Oaksmith, MT Coiner, and there's too many other comments right now to go over everything right now. So we'll get to everyone in just a second, Jerry and Sculpting and ZBrush and everyone else. But yeah, man, let's get into that topic, right? That PulseX is kind of not one ring to rule them all, but one crypto to rule them all. What are your thoughts on everything? I mean,
I think it's an addition in the chain that will help the RH products rule them all.
Yeah,
it's what will drive that world domination that he's seeking. I think if anybody's played around on it on the testnet, you can see for yourself how amazing it's going to be. And if you haven't, you just got to listen to what we're saying, but then you're not still going to fully understand the gravity of what PulseX and PulseChain are going to do for us and what it's going to do for Hex until you do start playing around with it. So if anyone's listening right now that has not played around, please go get used to it. Go play around in testnet, do your things, try all the things. It's testnet. You can't do anything wrong. Even if it is wrong, well, then you got some additional alpha info for your strategies when it goes live. But if you go into the live mainnet without having any understanding, you're going to be scrambling. And that's when we tend to make the worst decisions and moves.
Yeah. Well, you're so right, man. Like, I couldn't agree more, right? That the worst, like, especially for financial decisions, but the worst moves that you can make are those emotional decisions and are based off of, quick reactions instead of reacting, kind of just knowing, okay, here's what I'm going to do. The main net might be a little bit different than the test net with some parameters or certain numbers and stuff, but at least having a plan. And you're totally right. Like, it doesn't cost you anything right now to go to the faucet to get some PulseX, some Pulse, play around with the farming or, providing or anything like that before it becomes real money. Because you're totally right. Like right now it's just test Pulse and things, but when it becomes real money, you're going to be, you're going to be wanting to not be wasting that and kind of knowing what to do, having a strategy. Yep,
I agree. Let's see. AK said, BB, how many X can PulseX do in 6 months? That's like asking how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, it's the potential is just absolutely, the potential for just absolutely, Moonrunner and rocket ship gains is definitely there. Obviously, we see with things like Ethereum that there's a hindrance, right? There's kind of like a fee to get on board and to get off board and things like that to actually onboard new users. Obviously, PulseChain is going to be, a huge solution to that. But as far as kind of like an answer, like 6 months is a long ass time, right? Because Hex did 10,000x in 623 days. I mean, you could see like 1,000x, like, right? Like in like 6 months, you could see some insane, ridiculous numbers, but it's also, I don't know, man. It's also really interesting because you've got the completely deflationary aspect of something like PulseX, obviously PulseChain too, but with the buy and burn and kind of some of these things that are going to ramp up as people hear about PulseChain more and hear about PulseX more, it's just going to drive more adoption to where the liquidity is, where everyone else is kind of trading. And even on testnet, like Richard and like, I think it was like the Alex Lorenzo guy the other day, Alex was saying like, I've never seen more adoption than for like a test net, right? Like this isn't even a main net. This is a test net. And you've got so many people using it, so many people playing and building with it. So I think that that's really cool. And yeah, I think we could see, we could see some ridiculous numbers.
Yeah. 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too insane. Like when you talk about adoption, let's put the numbers there. How many sacrificers did we have for PulseX? And then before that, PulseChain. How many wallets were there? Was it like 76,000 or 70 something thousand for PulseChain, and then over 100, well over 100,000 for PulseX. It's like 142 or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but within that ballpark. You can imagine Hex didn't start with that many stakers. Day one, true. Or even in the first week, how many adopted into Hex or claimed their free Bitcoin within that first week? Not even close to that. So it's too insane to even give it a guess, but I like the 1,000x. Let's say 1,000x within the first 6 months.
Well, dude, first off, I love this person's profile picture, Pink Floyd, dude. I huge Floyd fan. I've been listening to them for, probably like 10 years now. But anyways, there's so many people that still don't like Hex for whatever reasons, right? Maybe it's the time lock aspect, whatever. They just might not understand it. But then when it comes to PulseChain and PulseX, like they're so much more simple to understand from like a fundamental basis, because what risk do you have with single-sided staking and PulseX, or, some of these things would say, PulseChain? Well, it's not as much to a layman than it is for, say, Hex, where you're monetizing the time value of money and you're actually kind of locking that away. Like a lot of people, they're so instant gratification that, the idea of locking up for even a month or a year, anything like that kind of scares them. So when you mention kind of some of the numbers just from a fundamental basis, it's incredible, man. Like you go into the Hex Telegram, that's been around for like 3 years. And then PulseChain has more. And then I think PulseX has even more than that, to your point. So there's just so many people that they feel like they've missed out with the 10,000x gains with Hex, even though it's just the beginning. They feel like they've missed out in certain areas. But for PulseChain and PulseX, like, it's so funny when people are like, am I too late for PulseChain or PulseX? And like, it hasn't even launched yet.
Well, they're too late to sacrifice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Done. No, it's true. It's true. Definitely too late. Yeah. Don't be sacrificing, but just to even, because there's always people that might sell on the first 2x or things like that when they first kind of get some profit. And what a great buying opportunity if there is some price dippage or whatever, when those people take profit for someone that does have dry powder on the side, some liquid fiat, to definitely get in and kind of snipe those buys.
Yep. I'm going to be there swimming in the waters down below, waiting for that.
Yeah, dude. Well, it's so cool too, because like there's just so much that Richard's talked about that seemed like not feats, but they seemed like challenges, right? With the buy and burn. So initially that was like, oh, okay, this kind of has to be done in a centralized manner, right? Where we can't have any expectations and things. And now you see that, and maybe we can go into the UI a little bit later, but now you can see that anyone can kind of run that function. And I think someone was mentioning on a stream that I was listening to earlier that function is ran like, because obviously done by the users or whoever else, like a couple hundred times a day. Like, so it's constantly kind of just doing its thing. And even those people are like incentivized to do the buy and burn, because I think they get like a super small fraction of,
you can collect
some
of bounty that. And it's, let me pull one up. I got it pulled up here on the other screen. Oh, there's nothing to burn. Everyone keeps burning.
Yeah.
There we go. So for a burn of about 75,000 pulse, you collect 75 PulseX, or 75,000 PulseX. You collect as a bounty. What is that? Not even like 1% of what you're going to buy and burn, which over time, that's going to be huge. It won't be a lot of value right away, but you start collecting a few bounties every day. I mean, that'll add up. And since the transaction fees are nothing, it costs you really nothing other than your time to sit there and refresh for a few minutes and collect a few bounties.
Well, that's exactly right. That was the thing that I wanted to mention too, is like, yeah, how much is it going to cost you? So yeah, if you are getting 75 PulseX in that example, how much is it going to cost you to run a transaction fee? Like they're sub, they're fractions of an actual pulse, which is not even like a penny or anything like that. It's like sub penny. So you're totally right that people are incentivized to do that, which is cool because it's like a win-win situation.
Yep, I agree. Let's see. I liked what. Who was it? I'm trying to find that comment.
We can go over some of the UI a little bit later too.
Yeah,
have you looked into like the proposals and stuff like that?
Yeah, some of the community proposals are just absurd.
I saw one. It was like Richard Hart for Santa. It's like, what the hell is this? Who made that one? But it's pretty funny. Yeah, let me actually let me share the screen real quick just to kind of show people some of that user interface. Because you're right, dude. If people are intimidated or haven't looked at it and things like this, then they should definitely kind of be playing around with it and kind of looking at it. But some people want other people to kind of look at it too. So yeah, this is the PulseX buy and burn itself, and you can click. I think you can just click these two and then just click burn. So you could click that and I think I'd actually need to run the transaction in a separate MetaMask. But anyways, yeah, you're totally right. Where this is constantly usually empty, which means that people are kind of running that already. And then the other thing is that voting that you had mentioned. When we come over here, all of these different proposals, which are pretty unique. Honestly, I've only looked at like a couple of them so far, but I think it's cool the way that PulseX is kind of like, and we'll swap back over here, that it's kind of like a proof of stake, like a DPoS, delegated proof of stake, and also like proof of authority too within the community proposals.
Yep, and it's great that it's based on kind of wallet size that you have. So the more PulseX you have, the bigger your vote, or the more weight or punch that your vote has for that. So it's pretty much all in the hands of OG hexagons. Yeah. So for us to agree and put those proposals through as a affirmative or a negative vote, it's in our power. So we need to exercise, I guess, wisdom over that delegation power that we have. And so I think community discussions are going to be important when some of those important proposals are brought up.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I could totally see that, like streams about proposals, and obviously you're right. It's got to be voted upon, but you're also right that some of the biggest holders, I mean, yeah, just look at the sacrifice totals that make up those billions and those hundreds of millions. But a lot of it is hex, and a lot of those people are hexagons that you're right. You don't want to just make those decisions or kind of vote upon decisions, without actually kind of considering everything. So I think that's pretty cool. The communication behind it, and also seeing what other people are kind of voting for before you kind of cast your vote.
Yeah, just stop wasting our time asking for free money.
Yeah.
And stupid dude, stuff. So I got to read through.
So true.
Oh, here it is. Here's the comment. It's Tony Bonboni. Now picture all those wallets need to set up a hex ladder stakes. All profits will go back into hex. I agree. And that's my plan, is as I siphon some of those profits, they're going back into hex. Yeah. That's my store of value. Where else am I going to put it? Right? If we see a 10,000x within 2 years, I don't need that much money right away.
Right.
So I'm going to store that value back into hex. And I think a lot of us are planning to do the same thing.
Dude, I plan on doing the same thing too. And like, that's the beautiful thing with PulseChain, is that with Ethereum, it's still profitable, obviously, to do hex stakes and things like that. But if the fees aren't necessarily a problem and they become so minute, which they will be on PulseChain, then yeah, you can siphon the the rewards tokens or whatever into Hex, and then just start gaining that trustless yield on, you can do any kind of staking ladder that's going to be a lot more efficient than, say, if you were to do it on Ethereum, because some people don't really consider that when doing the stakes, is that, for every single day that you're staked, all the Ethereum thing is doing is it's, computing the transaction, and it's making sure for every single day that you kind of get what it says that you are owed. And so that takes a lot of computational power. So it's definitely going to be cheaper on PulseChain than, say, Ethereum. So I see a lot of people, I see it in the future where a lot of people are going to be able to get back into some of those staking ladders that might be a little bit more comfortable for them,
Well, yeah, and it's definitely going to help them may save or rescue their stakes that they made on Ethereum, because now that you're getting the copy, you can unstake on the PulseChain side and use some of that money to go pay the gas fee on the other chain. So it's going to enable everyone to not have to really worry about the fees at all, even the ETH fees. I mean, they're going to be big, but you're going to be able to have the capital that you need from your PulseChain side to pay for those fees and collect the Hex and release it and save it.
Well, yeah, and like I kind of like the way that Richard talks about it, and like the way that he kind of markets things, and it's not deception at all. It's the truthful way of actually saying it, where you see some people that are like, oh, this is an Ethereum killer and etc. But it's not necessarily an Ethereum killer. It's like an Ethereum helper, the way that Richard explains it, where it's kind of like a win-win situation. If the system state's already being airdropped, the whole system state and everyone kind of gets the largest airdrop, but also that kind of can reduce some of the load on the Ethereum network. I mean, imagine if some of the NFT people that are clocking up like 50%, if not more, of the ETH network kind of come over and transition. That would make the fees a lot less expensive on, say, Ethereum.
Yep, I agree. Will it kill it? Probably not. But by on-ramping most of your users, if not all of them, transactions are going to be very minimal back again on the ERC20 side. So it just makes sense that the more adoption we get for PulseChain, the less and less transactions are going to be happening on the ETH side. And so it'll free up a lot of that space. And I like how you brought up the NFTs. Like, let's invite them over, get them over. A lot of people don't know, even if they're aware of PulseChain, they don't know they're getting a copy of their NFTs as well.
I agree. Well, and that's what I was thinking about with PulseX and things like that, is that, a lot of the RH stuff is gate kept, and someone had asked that. I think it was like the Crypto World Con thing in Miami when they were like fielding questions from the audience, and one of the ladies she was like, well, why haven't I heard of PulseChain? And Richard saying like, dude, I'm doing my best. I'm trying my best to get this out there. But even with 200,000 followers or with a big ass community that's spreading the message everywhere, it doesn't mean that everyone's heard about it yet. So the potential is really all there. And I always, use that analogy of like a snowball that's like rolling down the hill and getting bigger and bigger. And so the launch of the chain is just going to be like a small snowball just starting to roll down. But as more mass economically or from a user standpoint, and people hearing about, hey, did you hear about the world's largest airdrop? That's definitely going to, I would guess within like a 6-month period to the first year, I think it's going to ramp up insanely fast. And I think we're going to have a pretty cool user base that's constantly using the new network.
Yep. And I think another reason you could add to that would be, I mean, as to how many people aren't aware, yeah, 200,000 followers, but the amount compared to the world population is a very tiny percentage, right? So it's that, in addition to a lot of people, when it concerns their money and they're not savvy on the investment or the technology within crypto itself. So if they're no coiner, they're not going to be sold on the idea until they wait. Most people like to wait. And then by then they think, oh, it's too late. So unless we have ourselves doing the onboarding and reaching out to as many people as we can, they're not going to get in. And then they're going to think it's too late to get in, some of them. before you know it runs up 10,000x. Oh, it's too late. I've heard a lot of people say that about Hex, and I'm going, no, there's still meat on the bone. So it's just doing our part. Like there's so many things. We all have a value that we can provide to onboard and outreach. Do what you can. That's the biggest thing that's going to help. Even with 200K followers, Richard is still going, I'm doing my best. What else?
Yeah.
What else do you want me to do?
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, one man can only do so much. Well, and it actually it brings up a good question for low-key Hex. And they say, what can more private hexagons do to help us get to that viral moment? And the only thing that I can kind of contribute from just like initial standpoint is it's really cool that it's not like, you know, sometimes you'd hear with people that are in like affiliate marketing or MLMs where they always say like onboard your family first and things like that. And you just know like, what the hell is this? Like, this is totally a win for them, a lose for me type of thing. But the way that I see Hex and kind of the highest appreciating asset in the world, right, is a win-win. I mean, the only thing that I would say is kind of just like, I mean, some people, you can do it through wearing merch. I mean, I see Hex Luthor's got the Hex hat on, right? People, they see that logo and they're like, oh, what is this, right? Crypto Stylist, she's in the chat, and shout out to her. I mean, she's giving 100,000 Hex away. Like, how freaking cool is that? By 420. So make sure y'all do the TikTok challenge and read the instructions there, which is really cool. But you know, yeah, you look at Hex from like a brand standpoint or a symbol standpoint or like a community standpoint, and I think it's something that a lot of people, you know, you feel good when you kind of do onboard people into something that is appreciating against the kind of like the hyperinflation that we're seeing, man. Like with the inflation that we're seeing in the US and just all around the world, how cool is that to actually have assets that you control that aren't being, you know, pumped into oblivion and being devalued?
Yeah, that's 100% it. I mean, that's a good place to start with a lot of people because everyone's feeling that. Everyone is feeling the inflation now. There's no kind of ignoring it anymore because it's amped up so quick and so fast. It's affected everybody. And if you start from there and go, hey, there's actually a currency right now on Ethereum, soon to be on PulseChain, that has been designed to outpace it and actually grow your wealth instead of having it sucked away and stolen. So, I mean, reach out to anybody. The merch, I like how you said wear the merch too, because if you look at the advertising, I guess, stats, most people need to see something around 7 to 10 times before they're going, oh, I need to look at that. So the more people that have eyes on the logo, the more often they see it, they'll be more, my mind is going blank.
Yeah,
they'll have a better disposition and a reminder to say, oh, I'm going to look into that because I've seen it so many times now.
Well, it's true too. And like Crypto Stylist, so her and I had like a couple really good streams, and I'll probably have her on again maybe before the TikTok conference or the TikTok contest ends, or try and cut that up to get that more spread out to the subscribers too. But you know, she had mentioned like, okay, do you ever have any problems when you're trying to onboard people? And the biggest hindrance or the biggest kind of like hiccup that I've dealt with is the aspect of Hex or crypto or, you know, sovereignty and decentralization. That's not necessarily hard to understand. But if you look at like the average just knowledge, I would say, of people when it comes to finance, you know, you mentioned the inflation, right? That's pretty much impossible to ignore these days. And so if you can kind of just come from a certain standpoint where you're not just talking about the crypto, but you're also educating people like about the financial system, you know, why it's important to have assets versus, you know, so many people, they think of wealth and things like that in the form of fiat, right? In the form of like dollars or how much money do you have in your bank and stuff like that, as opposed to actual assets. So for me, I've kind of learned that a lot of people, they don't really have financial literacy, and they don't really know a lot of these aspects in the world that make crypto such a amazing thing for, you know, for what on the other side seems quite controlling and centralized.
Yep. And once you can bridge that gap in their minds, I mean, it's a no-brainer for them. At that point, once it clicks, once that gear turns and they go, oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, it makes sense. Then it's easy. But getting to that point, yeah, you have to fight objections that they have. And most objections are just fear of losing money because they know the more money they have right now in this inflationary time, it's going to go a lot further. But at the same time, they're worried. So it's like, you gotta show them the error of that thinking of holding on to the money in the bank.
Right.
So those were very good arguments.
Well, dude, and like people need to understand, man, like just because in like investing is the same thing, but literally everything in life is like a risk management, right? Whether you go to do a, like Richard talks about it in a sci-fi book, right? Whether you're walking or you take like the bus, well, you know, if you're on the bus, you're a lot less likely to, you know, get hit by a car, you know, all these different things. Like it's risk management. And so in any sort of investment, you need to have that kind of similar aspect. Like what is the thing that you're risking? And, you know, there's always the parade of imaginary horribles where like, oh, what if it goes to zero? What if the internet shuts off? Okay, whatever. You know, you can kind of put that on one side of the thing, but you know, and how realistic is that? Probably not as realistic. And if that happens, we're all screwed either way.
Yeah,
but
you're not worried about money
side,
at that point.
Yeah, dude, exactly. And it's like, and you know, the other side is, okay, so there's this side over here, parade of imaginary horribles. And then over here is just, you know, Citadel, mad gains, ultimate wealth and prosperity. You know, who doesn't want that?
Yeah, it's like that meme with the bell curve, and you got the Jedi on one side, the troll on the other, and then maybe it's the Jedi on the top. I can't remember.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, let me just say hi to the chat. We got give me Liberty or give me hacks. He says great to check in on a brand stream. We got a whole bunch of people in the chat that are, you know, tuning into this. So it's really cool, man. And I see too on you know, you and Joker with official Pulsification are, you know, kicking ass, dude. I see you guys nearly doing a stream like every day, it seems. And anyways, how's all that going, man?
It's going great. We're not doing every day, but we're trying to do as many as we can. We want to schedule like quality streams that are either bringing new information or are going to drive more adoption. And so even reaching out and doing these streams, I think helps. So it's not every day on our channel per se, but we're focused more on the quality. So we slowed down on the everyday stuff. We were doing every day for, you know, maybe a month straight. And then, yeah, it's time to take a break because you start to hit a burnout too as you stream.
Dude, it's so true, man. I used to stream a lot more, and then I realized, okay, you know, same thing. You know, it's kind of just like a balance in everything in life, not too much of one thing or the other. But that's super commendable, man, because, you know, yeah, not making videos or streams or content just to do it with kind of no intention behind it, but like you mentioned. The whole point is you're trying to provide value. You're trying to educate and help others and vice versa. So that's awesome to see, man. I really like that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you do need to be consistent. YouTube algo looks at that. So tickling that algo is part of what we're trying to do as well. So you will see at least 4 times a week something pop up on the channel. So if you've got the notification bell clicked on, even do it for Bran, you'll get a notification. If you don't see the Twitter, you know, tweets that we shoot out that we're going live, you'll get an email from YouTube saying, hey, they're live. Go look at them.
Well, dude, and I felt this way when we first rated Joker, right? He I got it on my YouTube channel, but he was watching like feigning ghosts on DLive and stuff, which was just absolutely hilarious, dude. Like when we had first seen him, I was like, oh, dude, this is great. Like I love his laugh. It's so contagious and all these other things. But I'll tell you what, like even with all the Hexicans and all the other people that I see streaming, I've never seen anyone with like a better production quality and like production kind of skills than Joker and kind of what you guys are doing over there. So that it makes it easier to watch, right? And more kind of fun when, you know, he's praying to the green candle or you know, some of these other things and kind of silly dancing. Shit, yeah. I love
like it. I don't know, like the Pulse Doge one he did for April Fools on the 1st. That intro was probably his best intro because he put on the filter for like a Shiba Inu dog.
Oh, nice, dude.
And he had like this stairway to heaven gates going up perpetually.
That's
it was pretty great,
dude. Well, in the Mango Junkie, he says Dr. Disrespect Style. And yeah, you know, I've seen a couple of his videos and things like that. And, you know, that's the other cool thing too about like, you know, the person, I think it was Loki Hex had asked, like, what can we do? And for me, it's kind of like what Richard said with the interview, one of the interviews, where it's like we've already won and it's kind of just a matter of time before it kind of catches on. But you never know who it's going to be, right? It might be one person, or you mentioned freedomtv.info, right? T-Money interviewing the Shiba guy that's going to be there too with 3 million followers. It's kind of like a culmination of everything together that really, I think, will kind of drive that adoption and that amplification.
Yep. And just like you said earlier, it's that snowball effect. We start out small and it slowly grows and you barely notice that growth at first, but at some point it will hit that critical mass where it just starts rolling it faster than you can even help it anymore. And I think we're almost there. I really think we're almost there. Once PulseChain launches, I think that's the tipping point.
Yeah, I agree, man. You can't have, the average person, like when I was first getting into, I mean, I'd kind of sold all my Litecoin for Ethereum, but even when I was dollar cost averaging in, yeah, $100 here, $100 there, whatever the amount was, kind of on like an average basis. And you can't do that if the fees are $30 every single time to swap into Hex. And then if you're going to stake it in some things like this. So the aspect of that being what it should be, which isn't a racket, but which is kind of just something that's necessary. Obviously, the consensus for the proof of stake, you need to be able to have that, but it doesn't need to be, exorbitantly high fees to run a transaction or to make a stake or to end a stake. So yep. I totally agree with that. That's going to be, I mean, you've got people, someone, I think it was in like Kenya or Africa, you've got people all around the world, but something like PulseChain is just going to make it so much easier for everyone of all different economic statuses.
Agreed. I mean, geez, the fees, they hurt. It hurts to pay $30, $60 for a swap or $300 for an end stake. Oh my gosh, it hurts. And it's kept me from opportunities within dips to buy more because I'm like, oh, it's not worth the 100 to buy the
yeah.
I don't know, 300, 10%, 20% of your stack that you're trying to buy with is getting eaten from the fee. And it's like, what? That's insane. So PulseChain will save us, at least until the point in time where we 10,000x or whatever, and our fees are above $1.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's true too that, people say the same thing to Richard of like, what happens when, because obviously the blocks are going to fill up. And even though you've got throughput and you've got some of these other things for scaling, obviously the fees are going to get more expensive. I mean, it's completely deflationary, and just over time that's going to ramp up. But yeah, if everyone that's already kind of here now that's in early, etc., you're going to kind of have that ramp up too with the fees that you mentioned. So maybe at the beginning it's fractions of a penny to do ascend and stuff, and then like you mentioned, maybe a year later, maybe it's 5 or 10 or whatever increment it does. Aren't you happy that as the fees get higher, we're also getting a lot wealthier because of the aspect of it?
Yep. So, I mean, that's what early Ethereum OGs say. They were in early enough. The fees don't really bother them right now because they've had so much growth within their portfolio. They don't care. And that will be us in, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it takes. That'll be us too. We won't care once the fees get higher, but it will be another problem to solve for the newer people getting in at that point in time. And so, I mean, to Richard's point, it's just in time kind of solutions. There will be something coming out. Somebody will work on something at that point in time. Maybe it's Richard, maybe it's not. But I'm not worried about that future just because I know we're getting in early enough, right?
Yeah. Well, and you're totally right. And Richard talks about that too, that when it comes to, just-in-time decentralization or things like that, he mentions that there's certain things that you don't do when it comes to a business or when it comes to certain things. And if something's not a problem, you don't preemptively solve that, right? You don't preemptively try and do that. No, you do it when it becomes an issue. Yeah, exactly, dude. So I really like that Richard understands that and that he reiterates that, because it's just so true. And it goes to show you, like, obviously Bitcoin has Satoshi Nakamoto, but when you have someone like Richard, who's public, who is the founder, etc., we can confirm that. What better of a leader could you ask for? I mean, it's awesome to understand that he, reifies these concepts and lets everyone know, hey, we've got some of these solutions to these, these problems that people say could happen in the future, but here's what we should be focusing on instead of this thing that may or may not happen in the future. So that's a really good, point that you made.
Yeah, you can't cross a bridge until you get to the water, until you step up to the bridge anyway, until you're there. You can't, I mean, a lot of people, it's those creative imaginary horribles. Yes, you may see it on the horizon as a future possibility, and maybe we all think it's just headed that way no matter what, but we're still not crossing the bridge until we get to the bridge. So yeah, let's focus on the more important stuff first, the things that we can control, and then if something happens that we need to change, I'm sure somebody will change it. And if nobody's doing it, then, and you're the only one that sees it, that means you should probably do the work.
Yeah, dude, it's true. Well, yeah, because Richard had felt that way a long time with Bitcoin and things like that. Like when he was anonymous, which is like, hey, there's this thing, and it could be, it could be done better. And he's kind of just like looking around. It's kind of like that one meme where the guy's just looking around like this. But then, yeah, instead of looking around for someone else to do it, and if you have the capabilities, then yeah, do it yourself, right? The no expectations of work from others. But Jerry's got a question here, and he's a Mexican in my area, so shout out to him.
What's up, Jerry? Thank you for the $20.
Hell yeah,
on Brand's
Thank
behalf.
you, Jerry. No, I appreciate you, Jerry. Yeah, he's a cool guy too. I've hung out with. So he actually got onboarded to Hex via Miguel with Dollar Cost Crypto and kind of their course that they did, and it was cool because it's like I hadn't hung out with any other people in Washington State before him and a couple other people, so that was really awesome. But he says, in 2 years, will my friends and family call me lucky? ? I think so. I think they will. Unless
you've onboarded them, then no. But if you haven't yet, they probably will. And then they'll be angry and jealous.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. Like there's really no excuse, right? Like not to kind of have that. And for those that do make excuses for not wanting to learn about a new thing, right? Some people felt that way with the internet, right? Of, I don't want to learn this thing. I'm kind of stuck in my old ways. Why do we need email when I can do the snail mail? Or with like smartphones, like, why do we need a smartphone and something that doesn't have any buttons, right? At least not on the screen when I can use my Nokia flip phone, etc.
My BlackBerry.
But I definitely agree with that, man. Like, and I've kind of experienced this too with, the BlackBerry is classic. But I kind of experienced this with some of the people that I know in my family is, some people they're willing to listen and learn. And some people, some people just aren't and kind of have maybe presuppositions or things like that. So that's why if you can maybe have them learn about it through maybe someone else. Sometimes people don't want to hear about something through their family member. Maybe they could literally be told the same thing, but through a different person. And that message would be more receptive because they might not have any biases, against their family member, or they might not have any biases against that new person as they might with their family member or certain things, kind of that could cloud the judgment.
That's a huge point because that actually happened to me with my brother. When I got into Hex, I was trying to get him onboarded and he kept calling Hex a scam. And there's one day he just, I gave up. I gave him his space. But there was one day I just said, hey, have you thought more about Hex? That's all I said. And he blew up on me and he had his biased opinions of me. You just want to chase fast money and get rich quick and all these things. And that came out of the woodwork. And I was like, okay, if you think that, that's fine. But the funny thing was, like a month after that, he told me he bought Hex like 3 weeks ago. He was afraid to tell me that he changed his mind because he finally looked into it. So people need their space. They're not interested. It's not worth the time to get into like a heated argument or debate over whether it's a scam or not. It's just, hey, the facts are there. If you want it, you can go find it. Here are the resources. But after that, it's better to find somebody that has a listening ear. That will be more productive.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot more of a successful onboard than going door to door, asking if they've heard about, hex.com or, have you heard about this new thing and trying to shove it down their throat. That doesn't really work at all. And then in fact, that to your point, that repels them And then that almost kind of makes them, reinforce that, oh, this is a scam because the person won't listen to me when I'm telling them no. They won't respect, that kind of boundary. So yeah, if you ever have problems with onboarding people, maybe you could have a friend or someone else that might have like a more succinct pitch. Maybe you can kind of have them talk to that person. But then same thing, if that doesn't work, then just let it be, right? Sometimes the results can speak for themselves, and those people might try and seek you out again in the future. Or there's just going to be people like Peter Schiff, right? He had the opportunity to buy Bitcoin at $1, and the guy is still crap talking it, even on its, low from the high of like $42,000. So some people just won't learn. And you kind of have to, respect that too, that, you can't just, force everyone because it is such a good product. Like not everyone sees it in the same lens or the same view.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have to find people that are seeking opportunity still. Because if they're set in their ways and they think they're set and fine and they don't need to find any more opportunities in life, it's probably not going to be the person that you onboard. It's probably going to be a person that's looking for an opportunity, looking for a better investment, looking to learn rather than, hey, I'm set. I've done my thing for 50, 60 years and I'm done, about to retire, whatever it is. Right. So if they're okay with it, let them be okay with it.
Totally. Well, cool, man. I know I'm actually really freaking curious about this because I never looked this up.
Oh,
so maybe we can get in.
Let's do that.
Yeah, shit, dude. Okay. So I know it was you and your wife that were saying it's either Brandon or Balliet, I think, that you were saying like, hey, do you know like the meaning of that? And honestly, I got no idea because I know my brother, we had looked up his name and I think it meant like bald, even though like we got like full head of hair. But anyways, which one was it? Was it Balliet or
it's Balliet?
Okay.
So it's I don't know why. Before our very first stream, I was like, what does Balliet mean? Is that like a handle that was special to him as a gaming tag or whatever that he just carried over? And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna look that up. And there's a French slang dictionary, kind of like Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
That gives you the the slang term for what it means. But like the oldish kind of term was just somebody with light brown or reddish hair. But the slang in today's language over in the French part of the world, dude, I don't know if I could tell you.
Shit, dude, come on, tell me.
It means a person who sucks on certain something.
What? Hell no! You got to be playing with me. I swear.
I'm not.
You must have. That's hilarious. Well, that's a disappointing upset there.
I almost didn't have the heart to tell you, man.
Oh no. I think etymology and actually like the root of what words mean is actually very important. So, good for.
I just wonder why that became like a slang term. There must have been some D-bag politician or something that kind of name, and they just started slinging that out.
No, that's funny. So the Crypto Wonder podcast, have you seen this guy before? I know he's got a YouTube channel. He kind of talks about all of it.
I don't think I've seen his channel yet though.
Dude, he released a video, and nice to see you, Crypto Wonder. Let me make sure he is modded. Yeah, he is. But dude, he's got some raps and stuff, and some of them incorporate Hex Pulse and PulseX and stuff. But he released it's like 40 something minutes of just remixes or tracks and stuff that he had done and things like that. But once again, whether it's DJ Cryptomatic, whether it's the Crypto Wonder podcast or whoever else, Freddie Quotes, Korean Investor, etc. It's super cool how many musicians we have and things like that.
Awesome. I'll check them out. Good to see you in the chat here, Crypto Wonder podcast. I'm going to check you out just because BallietBran told me to.
Yeah. No, dude,
I respect
it's
that
cool.
That assessment. You've got a good head on your shoulders. So if you tell me to go watch something, I'll go watch them.
Dude, yeah, it's well worth it, man. And once again, it's similar to what Richard mentions of, hey, he knows that we've already won and things like that. And obviously, like, you can have like the greatest product in the world and stuff, but yeah, if the community is not, because since it's not a company would normally be, doing all the advertising, kind of doing their part. But since it is not a company, it's kind of upon the community and the people that want to see it grow into fruition. So it's really cool that we've got people like yourself. I mean, Joker, like, Joker is another great guy too, man. Like when RG3, him and I were first talking about Joker, it's like, dude, we got so many people in this community that have like just talent beyond belief, man. And just, I think the people in the future, and PulseChain's obviously going to have a huge contribution with that, but it's really going to explode. People like yourself, myself, Joker, whoever else, all these people that have been consistent for years, it's really going to explode that and kind of put us in the spotlight where we kind of deserve to be. Like, you look at some of these other people with millions of followers, and that's awesome. Good for them. But how cool is it that people can actually prosper versus like top 10 altcoins of the week and secretly getting paid in the background? Like, no, we mean what we say, and we want to help the little guy.
After rug pull, and then come to find out all these years later, oh, we were listening to the wrong people. These people have been telling the truth the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic change within, just the social sphere, the YouTube side of things, even followers on Twitter. I think everything's just going to explode for the hexagons that were in early. Even if they're getting in now, it's still early, and there's still tons of opportunity. I was just telling my wife yesterday, I was like, there is so much opportunity in crypto, and specifically within Hex and Richard Heart ecosystem products like PulseChain, PulseX, that if somebody gets in now and starts producing value, they're going to blow up insanely. Because, I mean, look at how small crypto is. It's not very many people in proportion to the total amount of people in the world. Even crypto itself has not hit that mass critical adoption yet. So it's just up from here, up and to the right. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and something that can actually allow financial abundance and prosperity. I mean, we live in a world where everyone's slaves. You're a slave to your job, to your boss. You say something wrong at work, or you have a different political opinion or whatever, maybe something that you can't even control, and all of a sudden, discrimination or fight or et cetera. And not everyone wants to work for someone else doing something that they don't want for the rest of their lives, So how cool will it be for the rest of the people and the people that are continuing to be onboarded to have that financial prosperity and to then be able to do what they want with their time? Like, that really is the most scarce, most valuable asset that we all have currently at this moment is time that we're never going to get back. So, use it wisely. And it just really makes you, I learned at a very young age, like, dude, if I don't catch up to what is going on with time and things like that, you don't want to be that Walmart greeter that's 80 years old that, couldn't live on their social security or whatever. And all of a sudden they're signing off the receipts to make sure you didn't steal anything.
I feel because for those people, every time I pass them, I feel for them.
Me too. Well, and that's part of the risk thing, right? Where everything in life is a risk, and, they're calculated decisions, calculated risks, but sometimes the reward can just be so much more, right? Like that $100, like, so even if Hex was a scam, right? For the people that thought it was, even if they just put $100 and forgot about it, well, that could have been literally $1 million, like, without even staking. You didn't even have to stake.
Yep. To me, that's what I was trying to tell. Like, some of my most argumentative potential onboards within my family, because I would try a little bit harder for my family than I would a stranger, right?
Totally.
That's what I would say. I'd be like, even if the one chance, the small chance that it's not a scam, that you think it is so thoroughly, what's $100 if it's not? And you forget about it and continue to live your life. I mean, you waste more money than that every week, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, dude, yeah. Financial literacy, dude. Like, my dad, since he had 4 kids, 4 boys, I kind of learned that, okay, there's a lot of stuff to be mindful of, right? He was really good at calculating like overhead or expenses. And you're totally right. So many people, whether it's, going out to eat, going out to drink, or whatever. So many people, they might think in their head, or they might say to someone, oh, I don't have X amount to invest. And it's like, well, what are you doing that you could, maybe cut back once a month instead of once every week? And then you can kind of use that to, reinvest and actually invest in your future.
Sacrifice, right? I mean, you have Hextech here in the chat. He was sacrificing, just taking the time to collect quarters and pennies and dimes and nickels out of the cars he was detailing and cleaning. That alone, the time it took, people thought it was ridiculous. They thought he was dumb for doing that. Oh, you're saving pennies? That's stupid. But that made him a millionaire. It's just a little bit of sacrifice can go a long way, as long as you're consistent with it.
Yeah. Well, dude, and I still, like, if I see, like, I don't care if it's a penny or a nickel or a dime, like, I still pick those up off the ground. And it's like, yeah, kind of doing some of the things that most people don't, or most people might walk past that. And then someone else might actually see that as an opportunity. So it really is. Yeah. Hextech 16, he says loose change. For those that understand, for those that don't understand the concept, he had like a little mayonnaise jar or something like that, and would throw some of the loose change that he had found, under cars when he was vacuuming them, or etc. And turned out to be, a couple $100 or things like that, when he would roll all the loose change and convert it to dollar, and then use that to buy crypto. So there really are no excuses. And, if there's a will, there is a way. So you really kind of just have to be willing to do something. And like you said, willing to make a sacrifice. Like everything in life is delayed gratification. So doing that thing today that makes it better tomorrow.
Exactly. And what's funny with that loose change story? He actually ended up having people that were making fun of him for it contribute when they found the change. They would throw it in his jar.
Gotta love it, dude. Well, cool, man. I know we're at kind of like an hour. You wanna wrap up here, and then we can just save it for the next time, for the next stream, before we chit chat more.
Yeah, there was one question I wanted to address though, and then we can end it.
Yeah, of course.
Somewhere near the beginning, they asked about the prediction of Rackham Rishel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me scroll up to that.
And let me find it too. Yeah. What our thoughts on that were?
I think it was like 8,000x within 2 years. Let me scroll to that real quick here. Okay, yeah, I found it.
There it is.
So AK says, BallietBran, when launched, sir? ? Also, what's your take on Rackham's 8,000x 2-year prediction for PulseX? Realistic ? Would we even have more liquidity, or would we even have liquidity to take profits ? You want to go first on that?
When? I don't know. Nobody knows. Richard Hart seems to think 4 weeks, but he's been saying that since he announced it.
Yeah.
Since the sacrifice phase. So it could be any day now. I'm hoping it's any day. I don't know, though. My take on his prediction, though, from Rackham Rishel, I think it's understated. And Rackham even said that in a Twitter Spaces once. He said he's very much understating that prediction. So I'm more bullish than that. I think it's going to be at least 12 to 15,000x. We'll see, though. I think it's definitely possible. The velocity with the onboards and the adoption we've already had is much greater than Hex. I think DJ Cryptomatic said it was less than 2,000 for like the first month. Less than 2,000 people were in Hex the first month. And we're going to start with maybe 200,000 people. So, I mean, go from there. The velocity at which we're going to get those X's is going to be much greater than Hex did. And then with the liquidity, just look at Hex. There's plenty of liquidity. Do you need to take out more than $1 million at a time? No. Exactly. So there's going to be plenty of liquidity.
It's true. And Richard talks about it as well, sure, no expectations, etc. But, he mentions, so like just as with just-in-time decentralization, there's also minimum viable liquidity. So yeah, what is that kind of, Goldilocks zone of, hey, someone can still, like you mentioned, you can take profit, etc. Whoever wants to take profit, they can. But also new buyers, if someone had, $1 million in fiat or a couple 100,000 or 10,000 in fiat, the liquidity on the bid side would be to a certain extent where it can push up that price more easily, and it can do that more easily. So I agree with what Hex Luthor has said. I mean, no one can really predict the future unless, say, you're Richard Hart, right? Just sitting there, but it's true. It's true. Almost to the damn day. But so no one can really predict the future per se. But what we can do is look at what history's done in the past, and we know that it generally rhymes or even repeats. So yeah, I mean, Hex did 10,000x in 623 days, and that's with the inflation, right? That's with the adoption amplifier, that some of it had way more liquidity than it needed to have, right? And so people were just getting super good deals on buying the Hex, and then later were able to sell it for a lot more. So yeah, I mean, I think as crazy as it is to say, I mean, millions of X, not even just millions of percent, but millions of X is what Bitcoin has done. 6.9 million X. 8,000x in 2 years is definitely possible. And the thing that I'll say too is that's, everyone has like a different timeline, right? Like I said, someone for PulseChain, they might get their first 2x and they say, great, I'm out of here. And since some of the staking and some, even with PulseX, the staking there, it's not necessarily time locked like, say, Hex is. You're just going to have people, in my opinion, that might get off that train.
Yep.
That's exactly right. So how many people are actually going to be there for that 10,000x? And what you see, even with the beginning, people that have millions of Hex and have it staked, well, how many people actually kept that? Because a whole bunch of people sold it and dumped it all. And, now what seems to be a lot, which is millions of Hex, they don't have it, but they did have it then. So you're totally right about the sitting on the hands thing. And, patience really is a virtue. And, what are you going to sell for? Are you going to sell for a car that's going to instantly, go down in value when you drive it off the thing? And
the second you drive it off.
Yeah. So you really just have to ask yourself those questions and really understand what you're investing in, because in my opinion, I mean, even if I've taken profits and things like that, you never want to get off the train completely, right? You might get on and off and things like that. But you never want to get off completely, because that's really when you can miss the boat and then become salty. You see those people that are like, oh, I could have bought X amount of Bitcoin way back in the day, and they never did, and they never reinvested. So you don't want to be one of those people that has, regret for the rest of their life.
Correct. That's a tough pill to swallow when people realize it. I've been told stories of, somebody knows somebody, it was a personal friend, and they had so much regret from doing that because they had so many Bitcoin and then got rid of it all. And one of them, he said, is in the loony bin because he just got so depressed thinking about it and suicidal. I mean,
yeah, dude,
it can be a dangerous thing when you're dealing with that many X's, right? Just for your mental health. But I mean, if you're worried about the liquidity in the market, you can also just become the liquidity, set a limit order. And that way, when the price hits that point, you don't affect the market, you don't affect and tank the price, and you just, you take your profit and get out.
It's so true. Yeah. And you sometimes see like the Hex whale bot and, selling millions of Hex or millions of dollars and stuff. And it's not necessary. That's almost like a scarce mentality where it's like, you're right. Even if you did cash out a couple $1 million right now, what the hell are you going to do with it? Right. Like, so yeah, kind of just understanding some of those things, but no, I appreciate you kind of going back to that comment, because obviously we're not able to cover all of the comments in the stream, right? There's 75 people that have been watching and been asking questions and commenting this whole time, but that is an important one, because I think a lot of people they hear 10,000x and they think it's impossible, and it's not impossible, and in fact it's very possible, not only for Hex again, but also for PulseChain and PulseX. And so that's really exciting for people to have a glimpse of hope, right? What else, when I look outside and I look at some of these other things, like what else? Very last thing I'll say is Richard mentions, like, what else in the world is going on that's good, right? You've got human right violations or some of these other things, and then you've got something that's like sovereign and something that's a grassroots movement and adoption that really can give freedom to a lot of people.
Agreed. Yo, Lumi, that was funny. That got me. I want to be hospitalized at 10,000x just to observe me. Some of us may need it then too.
Dude, yeah. No, it's no joke, dude. Session. Like the sudden wall syndrome or yeah, people that sold and they got off the train completely and the train's now going, 100 miles an hour and they can't jump back on. Things like that, dude. You definitely have to. You probably should have a plan, and I got my notebook, down there and actually holding up the candelabra holder. But yeah, write down some of your goals and write down some of, things that you want in the future. Cause then when you have that possibility of attaining it, like, oh, okay, David Feeder is a perfect example, right? He was burdened, right, with a shackle with his college debt. He had like $30,000 worth of college debt, and you can't bankrupt out. You can't bankrupt out of your college debt. So you have something that's like a damn shackle. And then he had taken, some calculated profits and released that shackle, sold, X amount of hex to pay off the debt. And now he can live freely. He can, provide for his kids, et cetera. And so, you have to ask yourself, because it's so individual for everyone else, but what is that thing for you? And what are the wants for you and the needs for you and the desires? Because then once you have those, then like Hextech said, he said, take what you need and reinvest the rest. Like, I totally agree with that. And that's really what successful people that have been here for a long time or successful in other areas, that's really what they understand. So
I
listen
really
to
like
the wisdom.
how you said that. I mean, that plan, develop a plan, write it down, and make sure you're looking back at that plan, because this day will happen. If you hold your PulseX or your Pulse chain long enough, even your hex stakes, that day is going to happen where you've got more money than you ever thought possible in your life. What are you going to do with it? Start developing a plan now, because if you don't, you're probably going to make a hurtful or wrong decision that will set you back or make you cause regret in that future term, right? So most of the advice from anybody you see is, once you hit that point in your mind where this is like, oh, my life has changed, don't do anything for 6 months. Develop that plan to make sure you're mentally stable enough to be a good steward of that newfound wealth.
Yeah. That's one of the things that a lot of people recommend, or like for big life decisions, is sit on it. It doesn't have to be, we said in the very beginning of the stream that, with testnet, right? Use the testnet so you have an understanding of the network. So you don't make these impulse decisions for things that can be, really unwise and really, financially, not the brightest. So yeah, kind of have that plan like you had mentioned. And, everyone's path and course is a little bit different, but everyone kind of just has to find out that solution for themselves, and no one else can really tell you. You kind of have to figure out for yourself, which is why you have to put in a little bit of work. I mean, you have to put in a little bit of work to invest or to, save and things like that too. So, put that work in some of these other areas, and that'll really, as Richard mentions with like gaming, that'll really amplify the results that you see.
Exactly. You've done the work to get into Hex. You've done the work to get into PulseChain and PulseX. A little bit more work. Plan your future out. Write it down. Get that thought in your head of what you're going to do and accomplish with your life-changing gains, right? Those mad gains.
It's true, man. Well, cool, man. Every time that you and I stream, it's always a great conversation, and I really enjoy it. It's cool that PulseCon, it's like I got the tickets yesterday for my two older brothers and one of our friends, Blake. That's going to be super exciting. You have any updates or anything that we should leave the chat with? Any things you guys are working on, or obviously I think I've got your guys' channel in the description as well, where people
awesome.
can.
Thank you.
I've got your YouTube channel and then also your Twitter as well. So go follow official PulseChain and Luthor_Hex on Twitter. But anything that we should leave the chit chat with?
If you still haven't gotten your tickets for PulseCon, go ahead, get them as soon as you can. They will sell out fast. They're about 30% sold already, maybe even more since last Saturday. So not many tickets left. If you do decide to go and meet us there and say hello, use that and purchase those tickets. Use the code PULSEFY for 15% off. I know the prices just went up 15%, but you can get those prices back down to where they were if you use the discount code. And then, just follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our channel. And I mean, we're going to put out content for you guys to help us bring adoption. Adoption's our goal. That's what we're working for. We're working to pump our bags and your bags. So thank you.
So true.
Yep. Great stream, man. Thank you.
Yeah. That's the last thing I'll say too, is the Crypto7 says PulseCon will be a ticket sellout. And it's like, it's like 5-6 months, 5.5, 6 months away type deal. Like, this is going to be a big ass event. And when they say like everybody's coming, like
they mean it.
3,000 people, that's a lot of people, right? And you mentioned the Sheeb guy with the 3 million followers. Like, this is no joke. And we're getting to the point where people can kind of have discernment of like, let's start, let's stop preaching to the choir and let's start, knocking on doors, and let's start getting that message out to people that are going to benefit, that can amplify our results and effect, that much more quickly, and et cetera.
Yep. It's going to be insane. And, I mean, if you're there, we'll see you there. It'll be a fun time. We're going to have a blast. We're going to tear it up again. I think I might be a little bit more wise in my decisions on how late I stay up though.
Yeah. No, that's always smart, man. It's an experience every time. I've been like 2 times now. This will be the 3rd to Vegas. So you learn from each time, and take what you can for the next time. So thanks again, dude, for coming on, man. Appreciate it. Always like streaming with you. And until next time, everyone. Peace.
See ya.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, be sure to share, be sure to comment. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch!
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams, Mr. BallietBran. It's fabulous.